Since we're getting a new update that is completely changing up Gridmap, I thought it'd be a cool idea to look at the old Gridmap. And not just the old Gridmap, the original Gridmap in the 0.3 tech demo. As you can see, there's no bells and whistles. This is it. What you see is what you get. No UI. No objectives, no time trials, no scenarios, no campaign. Just a playground and your trusty series. Also, since I recorded this before I got my new desk, you can see I'm actually using a proper wheel. I actually had to hunt down an ancient config file for it, since I got into the tech demo with the G27 way after anyone actually played the tech demo anymore. Also, if you may have noticed, things are eerily silent when you crash in the old demo. There's no bottom out noises, no suspension noises, no real crunch, no glass breaking. It's just maybe a little bit of tire noise, maybe a crunch once in a blue moon. That's it. This version of the game didn't have very good, filtering for controller driving, so wheel is definitely a much nicer way to experience this old demo. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there was way less to break back then. No radiator, no steering to brake. If the wheels were on and they turned, you could just keep driving. Suspension testing has always been a blast in this game. It doesn't matter how far back you go. Also, one thing you may have noticed is that Skybox is so different from the one we have nowadays. I think it might be a little bit low resolution, but honestly the color is much better. It's not teal shifted. Here's the jump trial path. Now, the way the car flew there was kind of strange, and you'll notice that in other parts of this video with jumps. Like, the suspension wouldn't decompress properly, so the car would kind of just fly through the air and keep its attitude. It wouldn't pitch down at all. You also couldn't turn the wheels in the air and accelerate or brake to maneuver the car. No mid-air car control. If you want to learn how to do that, I'll put a card here. The Cockpit View was always nice. And as you can see, there is actually some telemetry options for steering and throttle. It's black text on dark gray translucent backgrounds. Not the most intelligent graphical design I've ever seen, but it gets the job done. Also, exploring this tunnel was always super cool. This was one of my favorite parts of exploring this whole area. It was also one of the first showcases of really one of BeamNG's greatest strengths, and that's rock crawling. There are just about no games that can do rock crawling the way BeamNG does. I think Spin Tires might be one of the only even slightly comparable games for that, but if you know of any, tell me in the comments. But yeah, as you can see, the environmental textures were actually not bad here. Another thing I used to do, since we didn't have time trials or any challenges, is I would come up with my own challenges, like drive through the tunnel backwards looking through the windshield. It's not very easy to do, no. Also, unfortunately, don't really have high beams on the rear of the car. You have reverse lights, though. Yeah, you take it slow and steady. You can do it. Going forwards, so that's for chumps. Now, it was especially cool to, like, fall off this bridge and realize how deep that water down there went. Also, the physics would change when you fell in water. And we're almost there. Keep on trucking your little D-Series. You can do it. I don't know what that little flicker was. Sometimes things would load a little weird. There you go, this was the classic bouncing, rolling, and we're good. Throwing it around all the hills, the bumps, the jumps. That never got old. Now, one thing you'll notice later on in this video, there were other wheels in this version of the tech demo, but the true off-road wheels were literally untextured. They were super early. There you go. They were basically an alpha thing for you to just play around with. Definitely added a lot, though, to be able to change the wheels for all the different environments on Gridmap. And here we have ground curve. Land curve. We have sky curve. Those have time trials, they have scenarios, and then we have this track, the very first one in the entire game, and we never got one with it. I never understood that. Now, if you look to the left, you can see the original parts configuration menu. Truly a monumental GUI undertaking there. And yeah, we didn't have the same customization options we do now, but you had like about three things per option, sometimes two. It was definitely enough to give you something to do. Try and build a truck to be the cars that you don't currently have. This is it. It's D-Series or bust. But we got this. Now, it's a little bit weird to drive in any kind of sporting way. The physics were a little bit wonky. You would slide and the car would gain traction. So it was kind of this weird half simulation, half ultra simulation, and then there's this weird ultra arcade handling as soon as you get the car sliding. It was odd, and I think that might be why some people judged BeamNG's physics harshly, like 3 years later, as if it was exactly the way it was in this demo. Don't get that. Also, lots of people driving on keyboard or controller, and back then, without the filtering, it was way worse than wheel, not just kinda worse. Gutter run. We initial D now. Yeah, with the wheel, you could definitely handle fairly well, even back then. Like people saying it was too hard to drive. Nah. Weird. Unpredictable due to some of the unrealistic quirks, but not hard to drive. Yeah, taking it very aggressively, using all the curb. In fact, you might not be able to get away with some of this nowadays, because you have more minutia to the suspension that you can damage, more alignment issues you can create. Plus the dreaded broken steering. You used to not be able to do that, actually. And now that you see the car reset, just know I've changed the setup because we're done racing. It's time for rear-wheel drive and some drifting. Where's UK Drifter when you need him? We don't have any sports cars, so here we go. We're gonna hoon the D-Series. we are going to make a drift config and drift it before the drift config would come out like 7+ years later. Oh god, do you feel old? I feel old now. Yeah, when you have traction improvements as you slide, it actually makes it quite easy to drift, in fact. Although one thing that makes this very weird is there was no force feedback then, I don't believe. This whole time I'm just driving with no feel and just watching what I need to do. Granted, I am a pretty visual driver, so it might come a little more naturally to me. As long as you can see what's happening and you're paying attention, a wheel is still going to be so much better than controller or trackball, mouse steering. I default to trackball because I'm a weirdo, but yeah. And speaking for the tech demo only, granted, in the most recent game it's pretty controllable with just about anything. Yeah, when you don't have filtering for the less precise controls and you have no feedback for the more precise control, ultimately more precision is going to win out. Nowadays there's people that can like compete in rally championships with keyboard steering, compete in weak racing with mouse steering. Kinda like some of the crazy people that used to do that in Live for Speed. It's actually impressive how much BeamNG's done to be inclusive with controller setups, even though I know there's a strange subgroup of people that when you don't use a wheel and look down on games that help people drive without a wheel. It's a little weird and kind of sad. Here we go, Saudi Drift. Yeah, it's no true drift car, but it does surprisingly well for a pickup truck with not many mods. Oh, here you go. This is the, is it the hub wheels? This is the original wheel that was physically modeled all the way through. It didn't have a tire patch contact system, so you could drive on the sidewalls, and it was actually much better for two-wheel driving than the current wheel physics. But I mean, you win some, you lose some when you need to optimize certain things. Again, hitting the brakes doesn't do anything. Using the wheels as, like, reaction wheels? No, that does not work. Inertia is a little bit weird. And here is my other favorite part of the tech demo, the half pipe and the tunnel. This was basically car core before we had any mods. You just had to try and carry your speed and fling it over all these square obstacles. Sometimes that would do a good job, sometimes not so much. Cutting it close there. And then I decide to make a very questionable decision at the end. Just like, I'm gonna make a gap where there is none. I mean, you don't need a roof, just get rid of that. There you go. You can see the old broken windshield texture. Leaves a little to be desired. But this was the best place, because you could do this. And lose track of the horizon because you were deep in this weird part mesh tunnel. And here's some classic slaloming. Clipped that block a little bit, but we got away with it somehow. In current BeamNG, I think you'd probably break the steering doing that. And this, I don't know how this worked. But there you go, see? Baja champion, even in the oldest of BeamNG when you couldn't control anything. Yeah, when this demo first came out, I could not drive like this without being in a first-person or third-person camera. Also couldn't keep frame rate over 40, but that's a different story. Anyways, there were no replays. So if you wanted to do anything cool like this, you had to actually be good at RC car driving, basically. All you had to do was take off the bumpers and gain some speed, put it in reverse, and you'd be the ultimate looping stunt machine. So what do you think? I think the original grid map really did everything it needed to do. Here's hoping the new grid map revamp is just as good. And depending on when this video gets released, I may already know the answer.